Hello there! Greetings, my dear friends. My name is Saeed. I am an online English language teacher. And this is another episode from the series of lessons devoted to the vocabulary for the IELTS speaking section. So this overall is the lesson number 10. Okay? And the 10th lesson will be about words and phrases from the topic of accommodation. Now, let's see what this interesting topic is about. Well, I think that it is highly possible that the examiner will ask you questions about the place or the area you live in, or maybe you would like to live in the future. Sometimes the questions can be about neighborhood or about any other amenities and facilities, something about roundabouts. So please be prepared for that to happen. And in order to be fully prepared, I suggest that you pay a special attention at the words that are highlighted in a yellow-orange color. This will be very helpful. And now, my friends, we will move on to the first part of the speaking section of IELTS. So here we are, IELTS Speaking Part 1. Part 1 style questions. Do you live in a house or in an apartment? The guy named Callum gives his answer. Actually, I live on campus, in a single room, in halls of residence. All first-year students are encouraged to do that as they're close to the university. Next year, I plan to move into student digs in town. That's very nice. Question number 2. Tell me about where you live. Julia is giving her opinion, the answer to the question. I live with my parents in the suburbs of Madrid. We only moved in recently. In fact, we had a house-warming party just a few weeks ago. It was quite fun because we had a chance to get to know our neighbors. And question number 3. What kind of accommodation do most people live in your city? Maria is giving the response. In the city itself, the majority of people live in apartment blocks. That's what surprised me about England. Most people seem to live in terraced houses with lovely back gardens. Right. Now, my friends, we will go to the speaking part 2. So here is our cue card from the speaking part 2. Describe a house or an apartment you would like to live in. You should say what kind of accommodation it would be, where it would be, who would live there with you, and say why you would enjoy living in this place. I suggest that you pause the video in this very moment to allocate yourself some 60 seconds of time to write out any thoughts or ideas relevant to this very question, and also in addition to that, maybe you can have 90 or 120 seconds of the time to act out the answer to this question just as if you are in the test environment, giving the answer to the examiner on your own real paid IELTS test. Alright? And when you are done, you can either record yourself, which will be probably a better option because you'll be able to compare your own answer with the modeled band 9 answer, which will be available in just a few seconds. Okay, this is a very good idea, by the way, recording yourselves and listening to the best band 9 model answers to find similarities or differences. Yeah, and we will not be losing another second, and let's go to the model band 9 answer. So here we go. The guy named Paolo, that's a Spanish name, maybe Italian, he's giving his answer to the suggested cue card. So here we go. I think most people when answering this question would say they'd like to live in a big detached house with spacious rooms, views on the countryside and so on. But actually my ideal home would be a lot different. I've always loved the idea of having a mobile home. A really expensive one with all the mod cons so I could live wherever I wanted. Or at least have lots of holidays and be able to take all my home comforts with me whenever I traveled. I realize this would have to be a second home as I'd need to have a base a permanent address. But the mobile home would be the accommodation I'd find it exciting to live in. I suppose once I settle down and have children, I'll want to get on the property ladder. I'll be like everyone else, saving up to put down a deposit on a house or an apartment. I don't think my family would want to live in a mobile home, but I like to think I'll still keep that dream home in mind. What a great answer. Okay, guys, I think we heard a vast array of interesting expressions which we can use in case if we are faced with the topic of accommodation and stuff. And now we shall move on to the speaking part 3. Here we are, part 3 style questions. Question number 1. Is it better to own your own home or to rent? Yuki, that's the female name from Japan, it's Japanese female name. I believe this name stands for the word snow, if I'm not mistaken. So Yuki is giving her opinion. I think both have their advantages. Living in a rented accommodation isn't necessarily a bad thing. You don't have a huge debt like you do when you take out a mortgage, but I suppose the property market offers you an investment for the future. I'm sure that's why most people prefer to own their own home. Question number 2. What options are available to young couples looking for accommodation in your country? Tony, like Tony Stark, that's the male name, right? He is giving his response. If they want to buy their own home, it isn't easy for first-time buyers. Mortgages are hard to get, so most people live with their parents or in rented accommodation. But that can also be very expensive. You often have to pay rent in advance, and if the accommodation isn't fully furnished, you have the expense of buying furniture. Totally agree. As a person who has gone through several rented flats and houses, I really agree with Mr. Tony. And we have the final question of today's speaking practice. What are some of the pleasures involved in making a home for ourselves? Angelica is giving her answer. I suppose it starts with house hunting, finding your ideal home. Some people enjoy doing up an old property, giving a property that's old and tired a new lease of life. Others like making wherever they live feel like home with some home comforts. That's a very good answer in my opinion. Very, like different approach of vocabulary, and I like the selection of words, seriously. Well, my friends, we are done with the speaking practice in general, and now it's a high time to review the vocabulary that was used in this video lesson. So here we go. All the mod cons. That means technology at home that makes jobs easier, such as a washing machine, dishwasher, and so on. Apartment block, that would be a large building made up of smaller units of apartments. Back garden, it's a garden at the rear of the house. Detached house, this would be a house that is not physically connected to another property. To do up a property means to repair an old building. Dream home, well, that's the most difficult expression out of all of them. I think it's a home you regard as perfect. Alright, that was a very cheap joke. First-time buyer. It's someone buying a property for the first time, especially when taken out a loan, mortgage. Fully furnished, that would be a rented property with all furniture included. To get on the property ladder means to buy a property with the aim of buying another, bigger or more expensive one later in life. Hall of residence. This is a college or university building where students live. I would probably even call it like a dormitory or something like that. Or a dorm in a shortened variant. Home comforts, well, these are the things that make a home feel comfortable to live in. House hunting, it's something like looking for a property to live in, like you're searching for an ideal place. Housewarming party. Well, this is a party to celebrate moving into a new home. Ideal home, that's another difficult phrase of the day. A perfect home, an ideal place to live in. To live on campus. That means to live on the university or college grounds, within the premises, like the territory of a college or university. Mobile home, that would be a home that can be moved by a vehicle, like a trailer, for example, or one that has its own engine. To move into, that would be to begin to live in a property. To own your own home means to have bought the property you live in. Like you are the owner, the master of the property. To pay rent in advance means weekly or monthly rent paid at the beginning of the week or month. Permanent address, that would be a fixed address. Property market means the buying and selling of land or buildings, real estate. To put down a deposit means to pay an amount of money as the first in a series of future payments. Rented accommodation. It means a property owned by somebody else and for which a person pays a fixed amount to live in. Single room. That's the room for one person. Spacious room means a large room with a lot of space. So the root word here is the word space. Spacious comes from space. Student digs. Well, that's a slang, and it means student accommodation. The suburbs, that would be a residential area on the edge of towns or cities. Like suburban area, suburban. Yeah? To take out a mortgage means to borrow a large amount of money paid back over several years in order to buy a house or a flat. And finally we have the terraced house, a house connected on both sides by other properties. Well, my friends, this is it. This is the end of the lesson number 10 in the series of vocabulary lessons for the IELTS speaking section. Thank you so much for staying with me. This is like the anniversary 10th lesson, but we have a lot more coming. And I will be very, very happy if you hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube channel, the IELTS Hacking, and stay tuned for the next videos to come. I wish you the best day, and stay healthy and positive, and best of luck with your IELTS preparation. Bye-bye. See you in the next episodes.